The member for Hughes.
My question is to the Treasurer. Will the Treasurer update the House on what the government is doing to support the incomes of hard-working Australians and relieve the cost pressures on the family budget? And is the Treasurer aware of any alternate policies that will reduce the cost of living pressures for Australian families?
Treasurer has the call.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Hughes, my partner from the Shire in Sydney, Mr Speaker, for his question. The way to protect the incomes of hard-working Australian families is to ensure that the businesses that employ them and create the extra hours and the extra earnings to support their wages can be successful in a highly competitive global environment, Mr Speaker. To support the investment that supports the businesses and our economy to drive the growth that those hard-working Australians are looking for so their wages and their earnings can increase, Mr Speaker, and that's what our policies, every element of the government's national economic plan is designed to achieve. The way to take pressure off the household budgets of hard-working Australian families is to ensure that you have policies that can deal with rising prices of energy, which would only be exacerbated, Mr Speaker, by the reckless ideological promises and policies of those who sit opposite. It's by taking the pressure off childcare and making it affordable through the bill that we have brought into this House today, Mr Speaker, to deliver that for Australian families and to ensure that you do not put an increasing tax bill burden on Australian families by refusing to take the measures that are necessary to get the budget back into balance, which is what we're doing, Mr Speaker. I'm asked about alternative ways to do this, Mr Speaker. I'm not aware of any of alternatives put forward by those opposite when it comes to this, Mr Speaker. All we hear from those opposite, higher taxes, higher debt and higher deficits, Mr Speaker. Higher electricity prices, higher childcare prices, higher house prices, Mr Speaker, from the supply policies that have been run by their counterparts in state governments all around the country over many years, Mr Speaker. But if I look, Mr Speaker, at today, what the co-author of the Shadow Assistant Treasurer has said about our tax policy. He says in support of our tax policy that our corporate tax regime presents a massive long-term problem. And I'm talking about Dr Richard Holden. The article is called "High Company Tax is a Slow Death." And he says eventually, if we are left with an out-of-date economy, that's what results, and a much lower tax base overall. Now, Mr Speaker, the co-author with Dr Holden, who've authored these comments, Mr Speaker, today, must have had, as the member Deakin has remarked today, an economic policy lobotomy, Mr Speaker, because those opposite have now walked away from reducing company taxes as a way of boosting employee wages in this country. But he's not the only one. There must have been a special on economic policy lobotomies for those opposite, Mr Speaker, because we know the Shadow Treasurer, when he was castigating the Greens for advocating higher company taxes, what he said, it would wreck the economic model, which has led to 21 years of unparalleled economic growth, Mr Speaker. Those opposite have no answers to the needs of Australian families who want to earn more, Mr Speaker, and take pressure off their bills.
The Treasurer's time has expired.